All right, welcome back to Fast Money. We've got more breaking news coming in, this time on General Electric. And for it, let's go to Morgan Brennan with the details. Hi, Morgan.
Hey, Tyler, that's right. So let's lead with this news, shall we? GE CEO Larry Culp buying 252,000 shares of GE today, about $2 million worth of the stock. This on top of the $3 million worth of shares that was disclosed that he had purchased earlier in the week. Just with these two purchases, just this week, he's more than doubled his stake. So why has he done this? Well, because of the report we got today. Whistleblower and short seller Harry Markopoulos alleged accounting fraud at the company. Here's what he told us on Squawk on the Street earlier today about that.
The numbers are missing. They report top-line revenues, bottom-line profits, and nothing in between, like expenses, research and development, selling, general administration costs, research and development. It's all missing, including cash flows. They don't provide working capital. It's the only company in that industry that doesn't provide working capital. In fact, GE's working capital is minus $20.3 billion. Their current ratio is 0.67. If you word search current ratio in their annual report, it doesn't appear. Name a company that does that. That's accounting 101. WorldCom and GE and Enron lasted about 4 months once their accounting frauds were exposed. We'll see how GE does.
So GE hitting back. On Closing Bell, I spoke exclusively with GE board member and audit committee chair Leslie Seidman, who says there is no basis for fraud allegations here.
This report today set a very dangerous precedent where somebody can just say things and then potentially benefit monetarily significantly from the decline in the stock of the company. That is wrong. And I really think that we need to investigate the motives for this. And because here we have Mr. Markopoulos and whatever this unnamed hedge fund is probably benefiting significantly financially today, and yet the holders of GE stock have suffered a loss.
GE getting support from noted investor Stanley Druckenmiller, who has been short the company in the past. In a statement, he told CNBC, quote, "I believe Culp. I bought stock today." Tyler, shares plunged in today's trading session, finishing down 11%, worst day for that stock since the financial crisis. However, given this disclosure we got just a short while ago about Culp adding to his ownership stake, it's up about 3% in the after-hours trade.
All right, Morgan, thank you very much. Morgan Brennan, worst day for the stock since I was an employee of that company and owned the stock about 10 years ago. I don't anymore.
Sorry for your loss.
Yeah, sorry for your loss. Anybody, you've had positions in options on this puts,
for almost
right?
2 years, I've been rolling puts in this stock, and it's just because of what the activity that we see, Tyler. And obviously, some of the numbers have been very unimpressive, and the changes that have been made by GE is probably, I think they're moving in the right direction. I think Larry Culp, we all, I think, on the desk respect who he is and what he could potentially do with GE, but it's just been down, 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 down. And this started at a $25 stock when this began in July of 2017. We've had 70 separate times where I've seen unusual activity based upon this thing's going a little bit lower built into the puts that were being bought, including today.
Yeah, I was going to say, what did you see today?
Multiple buys today, some of them going all the way to the Jan 4 puts, not as big on those, but September puts, October puts, they've been rolling them down, Tyler. Now, this buy obviously has popped this stock, at least in the after hours, in terms of what this news flow has been, but how long is that going to sustain? I don't know the answer to that. And I love that Larry Culp was in front of this, buying stock yesterday, buying stock today. And Druckenmiller, I think that adds to it. So the combination of that, I think, spins it positively. But what is there to this story? Is there anything to this story? I mean, this move today was pretty tremendous.
I don't know, Karen, whether you own it, don't own it.
I own leaps that are definitely going to zero.
They're definitely going to zero.
Well, my plan was it's very levered. If it works, he turns it around, great. You make lots of money, but you want to know your downside if it doesn't. So they're going to zero.
If I'm just an ordinary person, is there any reason to touch this stock?
Only, in your mind, you say General Electric, this is a company my parents grew up with. It's this great American company. And yeah, I would say in the 60s and 70s, it was probably true. It all changed. And listen, I didn't read this report. I can't speak intelligently about it. I don't know if it's Enron. I don't know if it's WorldCom. But what I will say is the trajectory of the stock, to Pete's point, been lower for the last couple of years. In one of the best environments in history for their industry, they've underperformed. There's clearly something going on there. So Just get the GE out of your head. Look at it for the company is today, and I don't see any compelling reason to own the stock right now.
I'll just mention this. We all lived through Enron and WorldCom in the early 2000s, and no one really believed that those were fraudulent stories until it just
until they were
hit you in the face. And I would just say this, that if there was any meat to this story, that would mean that there was multiple CEOs that have been brushing a lot of stuff under the rug. Culp must have really taken a fine-tooth comb to the financials before he took this job. This would have massive reverberations. If this could happen at GE over the last 15 years, can you imagine how many dozens of other companies have really shady practices?
And those,
not too different.
And those CEOs that you reference and those CFOs, and they've had many of them over the past few years, they have all had to personally vouch under penalty of jail post-Enron, post-WorldCom, for those results. So they are really putting their freedom on the line.
I think the audit chair made a good point. And again, none of us read this report, or I can speak. If this is a bunch of just, kind of hocus pocus, kind of quick money thing, that guy doing what he did is putting a lot on the line. I mean, like literally, he could go to jail if
he's maneuvering the price.
Of course.
When you say, you're talking about which guy?
Markopoulos or whatever. Yeah. I mean,
so
there's a lot at stake on both sides, very clearly. So.
I mean, he was talking a lot about the issues in the long-term care insurance issue, and I don't know the numbers very well, but there have been that has been a black hole for a lot of companies.
It's been a disaster. She did say one thing that sort of stood out to me. I mean, good for her for being on. They had to respond somehow, and I don't think Culp should have responded.
Amen. I think you're exactly right about that.
But she said something. We review these every quarter. Interest rates are down. That means that liability is going to be higher. Think of it as a giant bond. Rates down, that liability is going to be higher. Whether or not that's the magnitude that, I don't know how to pronounce his name correctly, Markopoulos is talking about, I don't know. That was sort of interesting to me.